Hello, everyone, and welcome to TriVersity Talk. Sorry, we're a little behind, a little technical difficulties stuff going on.
It happens.
It happens, but I am Stephen Bloomer-Teague.
And I am Wendy Stewart-Kaplan, and we go with the flow around here on TriVersity Talk.
Yes, we do, and we have a great guest, but before we introduce Holly, just like to say, we appreciate you watching. If you're watching on Facebook and you don't know that we have a YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search TriVersity Center. Give us a like or subscribe. We'll appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube and don't know we have a Facebook page, go to facebook.com/TriVersity Center and you can see our Facebook page. So this whole circle of social networking. It's
right.
wonderful.
And if we haven't confused you enough, oh well. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight, we'd like to welcome Holly Lorka. She is a nurse who works with the #1 confirmation gender surgery center in the world. And they help to bring people to their authentic self. That's in her own words. And she's the author of the new book, which is coming out in October on Amazon. We'll have more information on that book. It's called Handsome: Stories of an Awkward Human.
So Holly, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me tonight. Nice to see you.
Really great to be here with you tonight. And I'd just like to start out. How did you get started in this kind of nursing?
So it was all kind of happenstance. I don't really know why I went to nursing school. I had no deep desire to be a nurse at any time in my life, but I had a scholarship for school and I needed to pick a major. And I had some prominent folks in my family who were in medicine and they urged me to go to nursing school. My parents, of course, wanted me to have a stable job, so they were all for it. So I went to nursing school. I ended up liking it, and I started in the CV ICU, which is the cardiovascular intensive care unit. So I started off recovering open heart patients, and that was my specialty for the first 20 years of my nursing career. When I moved to Austin, Texas, I started working at a hospital, the tiny hospital where I still work, and they had a great, robust open heart program. And so I worked there to do that. And then that program stopped, it ended, they killed it. And I just happened to stick around and see what was going to happen. And I'm glad I did, because about 4 years ago, my boss pulled me into her office and said, hey, by the way, we're going to be working with the #1 gender confirmation surgical team. They're going to come here and work. And my jaw just
hit the table.
So it was all coincidence or serendipity, whatever you choose to believe. But here I am doing this now. And I'm genderqueer. So I didn't plan this at all, by the way. It was just this wonderful kind of all the whims in my life that I'd followed had lined up nicely. And here I am in the perfect place and the perfect time to get to help all these people that I identify with. And they get to help me also to know that everything that I went through was worth something, was maybe planned by someone other than myself. I don't know.
Definitely.
I tell you, Holly, this situation, I'm like, if I was on the fence about serendipity, this would certainly push me over to the serendipity side, how this worked out and how you got to be part of this wonderful
how it was
team.
Supposed to be. Because growing up, you had pains and struggles in your own identity. Could you talk about what growing up was like for you?
So I was born in 1969. And of course, back in the 70s, while I was growing up, no one was really having these conversations about it. And especially as a kid, I didn't know anything about it. So I realized that I was a boy stuck in the wrong body. And I thought I was a monster. I had a terrible amount of shame about it. I knew it was wrong. I would go into my brother's room when he wasn't home and like put on his Batman underpants and run around. And but I felt horrible. I felt like a monster. I felt like, okay, at some point I'm going to have to kill myself because this is not going to be okay. But I must have been some kind of happy, optimistic kid in every other way, because it didn't get me like it gets a lot of folks, I was not suicidal. I'm very lucky that I didn't consider suicide. I just kind of put my nose down and got through it and tried to figure out ways to handle it. And then it wasn't really even until my 30s where I really started to embrace that, I'm genderqueer. I'm non-binary. I'm, was supposed to have been born male. What am I going to do about it? So it's been this huge, long journey. And now, like, I had top surgery a few years ago at my hospital. By the grace of my circumstance, I got that and realized that that's pretty much all I needed to do. I tried hormones. I tried getting on T for a little bit, and then I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I decided to just kind of land here in the middle. And it's been a struggle for me, but I know that I have not had as hard a time as other people. It's like the world wanted me to land right here and supported me to land right here. And so
without a doubt,
I don't think I had as hard a time as some other folks out there do. Especially, I know this in talking to my patients. So many of them, have scars from cutting, and they've had multiple suicide attempts. They're on all kinds of antidepressive medications. It's just a really rough road for probably, I don't know the percentage, but for a lot of transgender people. And I'm really lucky that I kind of skipped along through it, and just kept my nose down and became funny and grew great hair.
You were doing stand-up comedy at one point. I read in your Huffington Post article.
I did. When I moved to Austin, I didn't fit. I grew up in Phoenix, and I didn't fit in there. People would look at me funny whenever I walked down the street, and I moved to Austin. And the minute I moved here, I felt like I fit in, and I felt like I was at home. And their performing arts community here is so strong, and their comedy scene, they call it the Third Coast. You've got your New York City, you've got your Los Angeles, and then Austin's right in the middle. And their comedy scene is great here. And so I tried a comedy class and did some stand-up at the comedy club, and
That's awesome.
it felt great. And then I just got sucked into, I like being the center of attention. I like being up on a stage, and I love making people laugh. It's my favorite thing to do. So it was great for a while, until it wasn't. But it gave me a great sense of timing, comedic timing. It helped with my writing. I've always been a writer. It helped with that. And I found out that I really like being up in front of people.
And this has been an incredible way, actually, to help people, because I'm going to use the cliche here: laughter is the best medicine. But with what you're doing, I'm sure you see people at their low points, and being able to lift them up through laughter, they can totally connect to you, and you to them, actually, when you think about it.
It's really difficult to be afraid when you're laughing. It's really difficult to be terribly upset when you're laughing. If you can crack somebody who's really upset into a good laugh, you've won the game, right? And they've won the game too. So I really found that I have a knack for being able to do that with my patients. The people I work with get mad at me sometimes because they're like, how do you get away with saying all the shit that you say to your patients? I'm just making them laugh. I don't know.
You name their private parts.
Bilbo Baggins,
right.
no less.
Let's talk about Bilbo Baggins.
Let's not ever talk about Bilbo Baggins.
I thought that was so funny that you named people's private parts, but you know what? At the end of the day, that it just keeps people relaxed and happy. You shared so much of the joy of what you do. There's a lot of pain with what you do, but some of the joy, you talked about the fact that seeing somebody put on like silver lame shorts for the first time and feeling absolutely gorgeous, or sunglasses. Could you talk about that a little bit, like what you see when people are leaving after the surgeries?
I see so many genitals. I see, being in the hospital for these kind of surgeries is difficult. And I think as healthcare professionals, sometimes we lose sight of how people actually are in the world. We see them at a very vulnerable time. They're half naked, their asses are hanging out. They're like shuffling down the hall like elderly folks because they can't move. And so once they are discharged and they get to put on their own clothes, you get to see more of their personality come out. And you stop seeing just their genitals, thank God, because by that time I'm sick of seeing dicks and badges all day long. But I get a little glimpse into like who they actually are. Like, oh, this one digs polka dots. Oh, this one, oh, another pair of shiny shorts. Who knew? But it turns them into people somehow. And I don't mean to say that they're not people before this, but it just really humanizes folks. And I just love them all so much. I just want to cheer for them and jump up and down we can't jump up and down for obvious reasons, but
obvious reasons.
you know, it's just such a glorious, magical time. Like they get to go out into the world as they should have been a long time ago, but now appropriately, presenting appropriately. And it's just such a great experience for me. And I feel so lucky to be a part of it. How did I get this life? You know, this stuff that could have killed me has landed me in this beautiful position. And I wake up every day with a goddamn smile on my face, just like, oh my God, this gets to be my life.
But I'm thinking, look what you give to your patients, you know, having you there, they wake up with a smile on their face too. And it's a win-win situation, right? For everybody when people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I wanted to ask you if you could discuss like the different kinds of surgeries. I know here at TriVersity, I've talked with a number of people that are going to have surgeries or have had surgery, and living in New York City, I know people like 20 years ago, you know, the surgeries then and the hormone treatments then are totally different than now. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen from a medical perspective?
Sure. I mean, I'm a bad genderqueer in that I didn't do a lot of research about this before it landed in my hospital. So I'm still learning every day. But so we do the bottom surgeries for both female to male and male to female. Female to male are very difficult. There's a lot of moving of parts. We create a phallus or a new penis from either a forearm or a thigh or even a back muscle. So we have to do what's called a flap. So they take blood vessels and nerves and build, basically, I call it some penis origami in the operating room. And they build it on like the arm or the leg first. So they've got an arm dick for a while, and then they take it off, and the urologist is doing all the new plumbing. They've got to like extend the urethra, and they hook everything together. But keep in mind, it's all an a la carte menu. Like a lot of the guys, they have a vaginectomy, meaning their vagina is removed at this time. Some guys don't. Some guys want to keep their vaginas. They can have their urethra routed out through their new phallus, or they can keep their native urethra if they want to decrease the risk of complications from urethral fistula or stenosis. So it's an a la carte menu for these guys, what they want. And then the females, the male to females, it's vaginoplasty. So we're creating vulva and vagina. And oh my God, they look so good. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a lesbian. Like they look amazing.
They're looking good.
Heaven help me. This gay man is like screaming inside.
They look great. I mean, they make a clitoris. They make the labia. They do all this great stuff. And then they can either have a full depth vagina or a zero depth vagina if they just want to have the appearance of a vagina, but maybe aren't into penetration. No cars are parking in those garages, though.
No cars parked in that garage.
No.
But for that kind of, it's a shortened vagina. It's a vulvectomy, right? It's a vagina in appearance only, right? So
yes. And for the record, I don't get to see the vaginas because they have a giant bolster sewn up in there. But I have had some of them come back after surgery and lift their skirts up to me, like drag me in the bathroom because they're so proud.
They flash
badges, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
So are you able to have an orgasm with that kind of surgery? Because they build a clitoris. Like how do they get the nerves and everything in the clitoris?
So the vaginoplasties are a little bit easier on the nerves and the sexual function. So nothing gets detached during the vaginoplasties, during the male to female surgeries. It just gets moved. So they take the basic nerves at the glands of the penis, and they somehow route that over and make a clitoris out of that. I don't know exactly how they do that, but so yeah, these women, they don't lose their feeling. They're sore as shit, but they don't lose their feeling. The phalloplasties, however, they cut nerves and they hook the arm nerve or the thigh nerve. They will hook that into the clitoral body, the dissected clitoral body, and then so when all those nerves heal together, the goal is that you have erotic sensation the length of the new phallus stemming from the clitoral nerve.
It's amazing. And for the most part, it's a very complicated surgery. For the most part, is that successful?
So again, I don't see the patients all the time post-operatively. So I don't know the statistics. I don't know the percentages of who gets erotic sensation and who doesn't. And I wish I did, but I don't have those numbers.
It's I had no idea. You know, you can think in your head, and I was so excited having you here tonight because I knew you'd be able to really give us insight. Can you talk a little bit about when a person transitions when they're over 50? I find myself in those discussions a lot these days. This seems so much easier when you're in your 20s to do physically, the physical aspects of it.
Yeah. So the emotional aspects actually are more difficult the younger that the patient is. I don't think that younger people have the emotional bandwidth to handle the enormity of lying in a hospital bed for 5 days, having parts of their body move, being in pain, being out of control, basically. So, over 25 definitely do better emotionally, but physically, your circulatory system ages very, quickly over the age of 50. You don't heal as quickly. So yeah, it's a lot harder on a body. The tissue's more friable, like it doesn't heal together as well. It's more difficult to sew together. So we've had a couple little problems on people who are in their 50s and 60s after surgery. Everyone's been fine, but it's just a much more difficult surgery. I've had a number of people that I work with who aren't genderqueer, obviously, asking me like, what's the point of, why does someone want to transition after 50? Like they can't possibly be interested in having sex. It can't be about sex. And I have to have long discussions with these folks about it's just about identity. It's about body identity. It's about how you feel in your life. For some guys to just be able to stand up to pee, if they have to wait till they're 65 to be able to stand up to pee, they still want to stand to pee, out of their new phallus. And, I'm sure that the male, female patients, they get tired of tucking, that's what you call it, I'm pretty sure. But, they are so happy to look down and see that not be there. It's like their eyes light up and you can just see that they're planning what they're going to wear at the pool next year,
Right. It's such an incredibly healthy thing for a person to do. I'm curious, out there in the world, right? We're talking about an LGBTQ organization here, but when I'm out there in the world, I'm constantly having to educate people, even with some of the people I know, they could be gay and they can't wrap their head around it. What do you say to people? I mean, how do you get them to understand the importance of a person's identity?
So I think that one of the things that I am gifted at is being able to charm people into having a conversation about this. I try not to be self-righteous about it. People misgender me all the time, call me sir or whatever. I don't really care. I'm really interested in engaging folks in honest conversation about this, which is why I wrote the book. So what do you say? I don't know. I guess the best analogy I have is, what if you were born in the wrong gender, like my male friends? What if you were born a female? Right. And once they drop the whole antics about like, oh, I would love my tits. No, you wouldn't. You actually wouldn't. Like you would feel trapped and you would feel humiliated and ashamed every day of your life.
Right.
And I think this has been the surgery coming to these hospitals. The nurses I work with, I'm really proud of them. They've learned so much and they have come so far. And like, they are so happy for these patients now, instead of thinking, oh my God, why would you want to do this? It's such a difficult surgery. And I'm really proud of being able to be kind of a cog in that wheel and being able to have these conversations with people, because I don't want them to ask the patients. The patients have answered all these questions time and again, all over the place. Like they just want to have their surgery and get on with their life.
Of course.
So I'm really happy to be there to kind of be the liaison for people with questions.
That's incredible. When I first became part of TriVersity, one of the first things I did is I went to a panel discussion about everything you want to know about transgender, intersex, and non-binary folks, but we're afraid to ask. And one of the things they highlight at this is you get this opportunity to ask us whatever you want. Otherwise, we don't want your invasive questions about our bodies. And it's just like this.
What was your question? Do you remember what you asked?
I'm shy. I had a lot of questions in my head, but they stayed in my head. But yeah, I mean, these people are living their lives and don't want to be other people's kind of sounding boards. So it's great that others have somebody like you who can relay that information.
And for the record, I don't have all the answers. sometimes I have to ask my patients some things, and I think it's easier coming from me because of who I am. And I just want to help pass the information around. But I'm still learning every day about this stuff. I don't know all the answers. I'm kind of an expert, but I'm not the most expert at this. And it's changing all the time too.
It's changing all the time. Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, what kinds of changes have you seen? One of the things, a number of people that I know that have had the surgery, male to female, have had to go back in for a revision.
For what? I'm sorry.
Why would someone need a revision?
Wow, on the vaginoplasty?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't heard. Maybe if they had the surgery done years and years ago before it was.
No, this is like fairly recent, and it's at a very reputable, place in New York that's doing it. And I just, I would never invade somebody's privacy to ask them that. They've discussed, I had to go back for revision, and I was wondering, like, what kinds of complications in a vaginoplasty or I didn't say
vaginoplasty.
Vaginoplasty, like what kinds of things can happen where you would need a revision?
I have not experienced one patient coming back for a revision. They may just be outpatient. They may not be coming to stay in the hospital after revision. So, but I don't know. That's a question I would have to get back to you on, honestly.
Okay.
I can tell you, vaginoplasties bleed a lot. It's not like life-threatening or, it's just something to take care of, but there are a lot of complications with phalloplasty. So because of the amount of tissue that you're moving.
But you know what, it happens, and people can get on with their lives, which is really, really quite incredible. What is the youngest patient you've ever worked with?
What is the what patient? I'm sorry.
The youngest patient.
18. We're not legally allowed to operate on anyone less than 18, but pretty close to someone's 18th birthday, he came in.
Now, so you're in Texas. Any Texas state laws potentially affect what you can do?
Well, they were really, I don't know if it was our lawyers that said that we couldn't operate on anyone under the age of 18, or who said that. The main thing about Texas is Texas insurance companies can still refuse to cover trans care. So one of the reasons why the surgeon came here from San Francisco was because he wanted to stick it into Texas's face. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to get y'all to cover the surgery because this is horrible that you're discriminating against trans folks.
Fantastic. Right. Really, really fantastic. So, what's involved with checking patients post-surgery? I know with the vaginoplasties, they have to do dilation, right?
So yeah, the vaginoplasties start dilating after their first post-op visit. So I think it's a week afterwards. They get this great little kit of dilators, and they're all lovely colors. They're pastel colors.
They're all different sizes.
And everyone is so excited to have them, and it's real cute. But again, that happens after I'm out of the picture for them. For me, it's just in-hospital stuff. But yeah, they have to dilate once a day for I don't know how many minutes. That's all I know.
And how long does that last for?
These are great questions. Again, I work mostly in the hospital, so
yeah,
I see patients in their post-op, period when they're healing.
Got it.
So Holly, I have a question. One of the things you talk about in the Huffington Post article is kind of how life changed after COVID, which of course it changed for all of us, but in the particular setting you're in, how has COVID affected the work you do?
I'm a lot more busy. I need a secretary. So the expectations of me to keep family posted all the time have gone up exponentially. Understandably, we allow no families in the hospital to visit. So I am the contact person. The doctors sometimes will, but mostly it's me. And I will tell you that immediately after COVID hit, my father had to go to the hospital with a brain bleed. He was in the neuro ICU. And I flew back home and sat at my brother's house. I couldn't go see him. And so I learned a huge lesson about I need to be on the phone with these people's families all the time because it's a helpless feeling when your family member's in there. And for my trans patients, these are the biggest surgeries of their lives.
Absolutely.
And to not be able to have family support is really debilitating for them. So I try to step it up by being in the rooms more, by making more phone calls. But, I'm already running my ass off for 12 hours most days anyway. So now suddenly I need to be, on the phone a lot more. And I get it. And I try really hard. It makes it a lot more difficult, especially if something goes wrong, because in hospitals, things go wrong sometimes. And that just breaks my heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just doing what you do in general, I mean, I just can't even imagine, being a nurse at all, but then, dealing with someone who's getting a surgery that, has been kind of almost like a life's dream, and then for something to go wrong, to be able to have to be the person that then works and deals with that.
In many ways, I'm thinking, especially now, to your question about doing this during COVID, you become really a friend, a therapist, and a family member.
Yes, it's a lot sometimes, and they're in with me for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and by the end of it, good luck. I try to stay friends with as many as I can, but it's really intense, and I'm in there a lot.
So, Holly, what do you do for your? This is, you're really at the tip of the iceberg with all of this. What do you do for yourself? I know you get tremendous joy out of it because you've shared that with us. But what do you do to give yourself a break or a rest or a reprieve from all of this? To take a breath.
I mow my lawn and I refinish furniture and I write. And before COVID, I was kind of an active storyteller, trying to get up on as many stages as possible because I love that. I love going to see shows. I like plants.
I do too. I believe you hear us when we speak.
I'm 51. What am I doing? I have kind of a quiet life aside from wanting to go out and do shows and see shows, but I go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. That's another reason I couldn't do stand-up comedy for very long, because
of course,
I'd have shows that started at 11 or midnight and be like, are you kidding me? I can't stay up that late, because I get up at 5 in the morning to go to work. So
I hear that. Yeah, exactly.
Look what you do. It's not like you get up at like 5 in the morning and then you're sitting at a desk. What you're doing, I guess what I'm saying is, my God, how do you emotionally keep yourself together?
Sometimes I don't. I think that people have said to me, like, oh, you can't let things affect you anymore. And I think that's the opposite of it. Like, sometimes I just lose it. I cry at work a lot. I get sad at work a lot. I don't want to lose that humanity, that connection, because I think that's what makes me good at my job. And I think nurses in general don't tune it out for the most part. I think that a lot of us just stick around for it, and it's hard. We go home and cry. We go home and drink wine. We go home and run on the treadmill. Our poor little dogs. Just
do you have a little dog?
No, I don't have a dog. I'm a cat person. I have a cat.
You have a cat?
I have a cat. Yeah, and she's not much for hugging, but whatever. I force it on her sometimes.
There, at least it's something that animals are. We all have a lot of animals. We're non-judgmental, and no matter what kind of day that you've had, you walk in the door, they're just happy to see you, happy to share space with you, happy to cuddle with you.
Oh, my cat's judgmental as hell.
Yeah, really? How does your cat? I love this. How does your cat judge you?
You can just tell. You can hear it in their face, where they look at you. Like,
I can hear it in your face.
Yeah, that's right. Stop judging me.
So Holly, you mentioned you wrote a book. Can you tell us a little more about the book?
Oh, the book? You want to know about the book? Yeah.
Of course.
Will you hold the book up?
I will. This is my advanced reader copy of the book Handsome by me. Comes out October 20th of 2020 through She Writes Press. I'm super excited. It's a dream come true. I've always wanted to write a book. And I've been writing stories my whole life, and they're in here. So they're like little vignettes or little essays. They're not chronological, but I think they tell an arc of a story of kind of where I came from and where I ended up and some of the things that happened in the middle. I realized when I was through with the book that the book ended up being about my mother. She snuck that one in there. That was heavy, but I found a power in speaking honestly about things that are difficult for people. And I feel like I said earlier, I'm going to charm you into reading this book that you may not have picked up otherwise. Like if you read the first chapter, you're going to read the book. I feel like these stories are important. I talk all about being genderqueer and trying to figure out sex as an awkward human anyway, but then having the wrong parts and trying to navigate through society when society was not acknowledging people like me yet. And it's hysterical at times and it's sad at times. And so I get what I've gotten in feedback is there equal amounts of laughter and crying. And I like that. I'll take that. That'll keep you turning pages. It's not all about my sexual identity. It's about things like playing the banjo and a lot about my mom. And I can't believe that it's here. I can't believe that I get to say I've written a book. Because when you read it, you're like, oh my
incredible.
God,
and
wrote this book.
And TriVersity has a book club, so I'm excited because this is definitely going to make the list.
I'm looking at the books on the shelf right over here, and yeah, that's great. We have a book club, and the book will be discussed, and we like to invite the authors on as well. So we're hoping to see you again as far as that goes.
That'd be great. You know, I sent my dad a copy of the book, and I didn't know what to think. My dad's like 77. He lives in a small town in Arizona. And he's a very quiet man. And I didn't know what to expect. But he called me a few days afterwards. He said, Holly, I sat down and I read your book in 2 days. And, you know, here I'm talking about giving a hand job to my boyfriend at the time while my dad's sleeping in the next room. He's like, you know, we don't have to talk about anything, but I want you to know that I thought it was very interesting. All right, Dad, I'll take that from you. Thank you.
The book or the hand job?
Jesus.
You know, she just left it open for that. Holy moly. Hey, listen,
Sorry,
you're talking about honestly here, right? So there you have it.
I guess so, man.
Steven's a very nice Southern boy. All right. Well, I would love to hear some of the questions in our chat. So I love this. I always love what, you know, people ask. So give us some seconds and scroll on down the line.
First, I'm just going to give a comment first from Laura Cormier, who says, Holly, you are amazing. Ty and I wondered how you, or this was a question, how you got away with what you say.
I don't know. I don't know. My coworkers are oftentimes puzzled, and I've not got sent to HR one time. So I feel like if you're funny enough, you can get away with some shit. That's what I'm going to bank on there.
Girl, I agree with you. My gosh, absolutely. And look what you do for people, you know, by being funny. Just keep doing it.
If I have to poke your dick every hour, you better let me say some funny shit about it, because I don't know how I'm getting through that any other way, because I thought I was done with it. I was 23 years old.
I tell you, I was like, I looked at my penis differently after I thought about the term Bilbo Baggins as a name. I was like,
are you gonna call it Bilbo Baggins from now on?
That was already someone else's name. I can't take that. It's ridiculous.
I think it's a great name, Bilbo Baggins.
So it's not necessarily a question, but it's kind of a concern that one of our members of our trans community has. And she writes that a lot of surgeons in this area in particular don't accept Medicare for gender confirmation surgery because of issues with repayment, but do accept Medicaid. Now, I know insurance isn't like your specialty, but do you see insurance issues like that arise?
I don't deal with any of the insurance.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with that.
Exactly. I mean,
luckily, I do not have to. I'm sorry, I don't have any.
No, that you don't have to deal with that particular heartache is very fortunate.
Okay, James Angelo James Angelo Campistros is also a nurse and has a great question.
And he says, post-op, is their counseling regarding any possible medical conditions going, I guess he says going future from their birth gender, but I'm thinking going forward. And then what he says is, in the past, I've had a patient not be truthful of their birth gender, thus the medical team can misdiagnose their current disease process.
Yes, I have heard stories about that. And for the record, I'm going to tell you that medical professionals have not historically been very accepting of transgender patients. There's been a lot of prejudice, a lot of, oh, this isn't real kind of a thing. It's not been an easy road for a lot of trans folks. Like, I've had friends been refused care for a post-op infection following top surgery, just because the doctor don't want to deal with it. So it is a big deal. I think that the counseling aspect of it is separate from the medical aspect of it. I know that people have to have their letters before they're allowed to have surgery, so they are screened by numerous psychiatric professionals. But I think that now it's better because there are blogs and message boards and online groups for folks who have transitioned, so they can stay in touch with a wide group of people if they have a problem.
Very important point, right? Very important point.
Yeah. And I know that our surgery center, they just hired a liaison probably about 6 months ago, who is himself a trans surgery patient. And so he is very active with all the patients. He stays in touch with them all the time. He helps them to get resources if they need some help post-operatively. He can answer questions, and he's lived through it. So I think that he's a real good support member. And I think that's really important for the patients, because even though I'm genderqueer or whatever, I've never had a phalloplasty. I've never had to walk out of the hospital in my shiny shorts and not know what kind of underwear to buy for, my new parts. And so I love the internet for that. And I love that we have a patient liaison now.
Yeah, that's the support is really, really incredible. Simone has a really great question about the BMI.
Okay, so Simone, is there slightly more leeway on BMI for vulvoplasty than vaginoplasty? Why do you think they don't offer vulvoplasty as an option more often?
All right, so I don't know. My specialty is the phalloplasty, is the female to male. The only time I see the vaginoplasty is for 2 days post-operatively while they're recovering. I'm not privy to the conversations they have with the surgeons or why they're making some of the choices that they do. I'm not in the rooms with these people as much as I am with the phalloplasty, so we don't have time to explore a lot of these things. And I'm running and gunning to try to make phone calls to everyone, so I don't have that information for you. I don't know.
So maybe a different question is, will you do a book tour?
So yes, I mean, my strong suit is getting up in front of people and talking, and I am trying really hard not to be crushed about, COVID happening right when my book is supposed to come out. But I'm hoping that it will extend the length of my book release. And yes, it's been my dream to do a book tour and to do this book. So I'm not going to be defeated. I will do a book tour. Definitely. I will invade your city.
Well, please invade our city.
Yeah, invade our city.
We have a center, and I've already been contemplating how to do socially distanced gatherings here. So
my PR team is planning some sort of Zoom. Are people still? Are we still real excited about the Zoom stuff? I don't know, but I would love.
But it's all we have right now. So yeah, we are real excited. I mean, everything's being done on it, film festivals and everything else. Listen, and I talk about this all the time. I am a people person. I've had to reinvent myself to deal with this whole Zoom thing. But look at the beauty of it. Here we are in Milford, Pennsylvania. Here you are in Texas. How cool is this that we're here tonight? We have people in this chat here that are getting all kinds of information. So a lot of great is going to come from this. And that's how I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people have more time to sit home and read books right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So your timing actually is perfect for your book. I can't wait to get it. Laura Chickenier put a comment up. She's already ordered it. So there, the ink isn't even dry and your book has been ordered. And I definitely want to get it as well, as I'm sure you do.
Absolutely. Holly, tell us how we can learn more about you outside of this interview.
Yeah.
I have a website, hollylorka.com. I'm also a wedding officiant here in Austin. So if you want to come here and get married, you're welcome to do that. I will help you with that. Type my name in and just make sure you're not around kids.
I'm sure.
You can find me anywhere. Send up the bat signal and I'll show up. Yeah, good luck. Poke around on the internet, see what you find. You'll find that one comedy set that I did about having sex with straight girls. It's gotten like 70,000 hits so far. That one's going to follow me around forever.
You could use that to sell the book too. Why not? Stop at nothing.
Why not? Stop at nothing. Leave no stone unturned. Yes.
Okay, so here's a comment from Laura Chicormier. Ty says hi and is still bummed that you didn't name his big boy phallus.
Oh, let's have a name tonight. Holly, let's do it right here.
Right here.
Do it.
God, I don't remember what it looks like. I'm sorry. It's a big whitey. I don't know.
Don't put her on the spot like that. That is
sweating. There's already beer in my teacup here.
There you go.
That should make it easier, though.
Sluggo. I don't know. That's
contest.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh, we have all kinds of contests and raffles and things for our events. You know, we talk about them all the time. We should have a phallus naming contest.
I'm down.
Have another sip of that tea there, Holly. There you go.
Hey, Holly acknowledges it for what it is. She's not like one of those people that hides that it's beer.
Okay, we've gotten most of our comments in here tonight.
I think.
Okay, yeah. And I like this one from Igmu Gleska. You're the perfect person to educate. I totally agree. Is there any plan? I was going to ask you this. Is there any plan going forward? You have this book coming out, but to send you into universities or even teaching hospitals?
So I have been invited to speak at several schools. I don't know how, but I spoke at some colleges. I've spoken at some high schools. You know, I feel like the book will really help to launch things in the HuffPost article. So I'm, you know, how my life has worked out. So yes. I'm just kind of sitting back to wait to see what shows up. And then I will do the book tour, and I'm sure I'll meet people who will turn me on to doing other things. I really like being up in front of people and talking. I don't mind telling the truth about all the embarrassing things that have happened to me in my life. I think I get people to relate to me that way. So okay. I'm happy to be a vehicle to help folks to understand that, you know, being transgender is nothing more than the inappropriate expression of hormones, right? That's what I think it is. It's nothing more than something fixable now. And we can fix it. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to hate people for. It's not a political issue. It's not a religious issue. It's just something physical that goes wrong at, you know, when the hormones are expressing, and it's fixable now. And we don't need to make that big of a deal about it, except to help people to keep from trying to kill themselves.
Absolutely. I think what you just said, the last few comments are just unbelievable. And more of what you just said really, really needs to get out there, you know, in high schools, certainly, you know, and kids that are questioning themselves. And also, as we've seen here, people transitioning over 50, which is, I heard the most incredible stories. You know, somebody that has their life was going one way, even though they knew in their heart of hearts they were a different gender, but they lived their life one way for many years. And like, you know, the analogy is the house with the white picket fence, the job, you know, the partner, and the kids, and then boom, boom, at 50 years of age. That's tough. That's really tough.
You know, but it's also like, boom, here's your happiness. Boom.
We say that, right.
Who you are into your true self. You know, boom, you can be happy. So I think that to think of it as just a life-wrecking thing is not, like, we shouldn't do that. But yeah, it's a big step to make that choice and all of a sudden go down this road, I think is courageous as hell.
Absolutely.
So do we.
I have so much respect for all my patients who even do something like change their gender markers on their identification. I think is an enormous deal. And I think that they're so brave just for doing this. And then to have these giant surgeries on top of it. I just think they're so incredibly brave.
Incredibly brave.
Seeing people in our own community go through this and do these very things. I mean, I'm inspired by the people who we deal with. I mean, I have to say, you never realize. I mean, my struggles growing up were, tough. I mean, being gay and not fully understanding that, but it's like it doesn't even touch the iceberg. As just the tip of the iceberg of what a lot of people deal with, and to face that and to find happiness, just incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we have a couple more comments. Laura Chicornier says your stand-up is amazing, that it's too funny, and she loves that we can all be together. We want to see your stand-up. You have to let us know at TriVersity when you're going to be doing something. If it's online, send us a link, right?
Absolutely. I mean, now, do you read? Would you read parts of your story? I mean, because you mentioned you do storytelling, and
I mean,
right now, mind you, just
yeah, of course. I mean, that's like a kind of like what you would do at a book tour. Yeah, I'd love to. And also on my website, there are links to some performances, some of my past performances. But really, all you have to type in is Holly Lorka. There's only one of me.
There is only one of you.
There's only one. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, but there's only one of me.
I love it.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We might have one more question
from Francisco. Yeah, Francisco. Okay. Yeah, this is an important one.
Okay,
too.
So Fran says, she says, I think trans people should be advised that it is okay for surgery if they really think it is necessary. But I think some trans people may not need surgery as confirmation. They can still find happiness without surgery and should let it be known. So any thoughts as far as that goes?
Well, many thoughts. I think that everyone is on their own journey with this.
Yes.
And I feel like when a lot of the trans stuff started coming out, all we were focusing on was people transitioning all the way from one gender to another. And I think that we can now embrace more of a discussion that, everyone is on a different path. Mm-hmm. And people have all sorts of choices out there. And you don't have to have bottom surgery to transition. I stopped at top surgery. I still identify as she, her, but everyone gets to do whatever the hell they want. That's the beauty of this now. And I think everyone has to figure out for themselves what is right for themselves. And I think also it can change. I didn't feel like I needed to have top surgery before I decided to do it. And then it was the best thing that I ever did. So I think that within ourselves too, we can continue to evolve in it. And regardless of whatever age we are, gender is fluid and gender is changing. And I think that it's different for all of us. And I think, yes, 100% completely, we can embrace that folks don't need any kind of surgery to consider themselves anyway. Like you can be whoever you want to be.
Exactly.
However you want to express that is great. And that's a great point. I'm glad that you brought that up. Do we have a couple minutes?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I walk a real fine line because I didn't transition. I just had top surgery. I'm not on hormones. I don't identify as he, and I don't want to take away from the folks that really want to do that. Right. But I think that there's room. I think that I'm real happy that I didn't transition all the way, that I didn't, take hormones and have bottom surgery. And I'm happy that I had the time to land where I did. That might change tomorrow, but I'm happy today that I took the time to land just where I did. And not everyone has that option. Not everyone has that kind of time to just sit around and hang out. So I'm really grateful that that's my journey. And I know that there are young people who really want to transition, and I don't want to get in their way. I don't want someone like me who has landed in the middle to put a stop to someone or put the idea in people's heads that you don't have to go all the way. I want it to be known that it's a personal journey for everyone. I only know how I feel. I only know how this is for me. And so I think that's really careful that we all keep those thoughts in our heads about this.
Well, I think the honesty here is you've landed where is right for you. And I think that, like, even within our community, folks, don't make judgments. People will call their own shots and they'll land where is right for them. And as long as you're happy, isn't that all that matters? You know, at the end of it, that we all feel good about ourselves.
You know, I have this story. When I came out, I was 23 and I was sitting on the floor in the living room talking to my mom. She was in the recliner and she's like, I think you have lesbian tendencies. And I was like, well, they're more than tendencies, but yeah. Mom. And she stormed out of the room and she yelled at me, you're only concerned with your own happiness. And at the tender age of 3, I sat there on the orange shag carpet in the living room and thought, well, what the hell else am I supposed to be concerned with? Right?
Amen. I'll give an amen to that.
I just remember that, mother, I'll never have grandchildren. It's like nobody was guaranteeing you grandchildren anyway.
I got family too. Shut up, Mom.
What a lot of pressure. What a lot of pressure. Holly, thank you so much. This has been invaluable. We wish you so much luck with your book, and you're going to stay in touch with us at TriVersity. So we have a really great newsletter that Stephen puts out. So as soon as that book is out there, and they can pre-order it now anyway, right?
Yeah, it's available for pre-order off Amazon. And I'm hoping my next project I'm hoping is to do an Audible version of it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
Really
that has become my way of exercise, travel, pretty much anything I do now, I'm Audible.
So you're listening to books. You're not using your eyes.
Yeah.
I want to invade your ears with stories of all my awkward hand jobs, Stephen.
Bring it.
Bring it on.
What you don't want is for me to do the same.
No, too many. I have one.
Control here tonight.
I tell you. Well, thank you, Holly, so much. And thank you, everyone. And we apologize for the technical difficulty. We're not sure exactly what's wrong.
Yeah, we know. And Laura, thank you for telling us in the chat. Yeah, we knew even before we started, we had this weird crackling. We don't know what it is. I think Holly's making Jiffy Pop in the background there, maybe. We're hearing popping sounds. But thank you all. As we tell people, we're working virtually. Everything's live streaming these days, but it's still in many ways Brave New World, isn't it?
Absolutely. So y'all go to hollylorka.com, learn more about Holly, pre-order that book. Check us out at Handsome. Check us out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, give this video a like. We'd so appreciate it. Facebook, give us a like. Or subscribe. I think they also call like, but they're weird. Anyway,
tell your friends to go. The video will be up on YouTube. You can watch it after the fact. Tell your friends to watch it.
And thank you all. Thank you, Holly. And good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.